Well, good evening. I know that I'm one of the last things standing between you and the main event, so I'm going to be right to the point. I got two things I want to talk to you about, but let me sum it up. Because if I get a little bit boring tonight, here's what you should remember come election day. Trump good, Kamala bad. Politics is pretty simple, folks. So, I've been to Springfield recently, talked with the mayor this afternoon. I was on Fox News. They were asking about what's going on there. And the news media is trying to make this go away. They're calling 20,000 immigrants in a town of 58,000. They're calling that a conspiracy theory, which is their new buzzword when they don't want you to pay attention to something or when they're trying to discredit it. But let me tell you something. If it can happen in Springfield, it can happen in your town. If federal government can just let people in endlessly and allow them to go anywhere they want, they could go to your town. Let me tell you what's happening in Springfield. Over 4,000 of those immigrants are on public assistance, your tax dollars. Last year, they had 150 kids in the schools that didn't speak English, needed English as a second language, needed translators. This year, it's over 500. There's not a town in this world that can absorb a third of its own population. There has got to be a solution to this, and it starts with pushing back on the federal government and electing Donald Trump President of the United States. Yeah. Here's the second thing I wanted to talk to you about. Ohio passed a law, you've got one here in Kentucky too. Ohio passed a law that says doctors, you're not allowed to do surgeries and put chemicals in the bodies of children to change their gender. I thought it was a good law. What do you think? Yeah. Well, for some reason, our governor vetoed that and said he thought it was unconstitutional. I went to the legislature and I told him, I think this is constitutional. If you override that veto, I will defend this in court. The General Assembly overrode the veto and passed it. Then, as predictable as the sun coming up in the morning, the ACLU sued to stop it. And a judge issued a temporary order while we litigated. Now, listen to me for a second. I want to give you the inside skinny on how these things work, okay? The ACLU files a lawsuit saying whatever law is horrible, awful, and shouldn't be allowed. It was passed by the elected representatives of the people. And then they staple a couple of affidavits to it from an expert or two that says, well, this is going to have an unfair impact on this population, or it's going to be unfair for this reason, or unconstitutional. And so they just swear to it. And then the state of Ohio comes in to defend it, and we have a court date, and we argue in front of the judge. Well, that hasn't always turned out very well. The left seems to be pretty good at winning these cases. So I called my team together and I said, we're not going to do the same thing. How many know that if you keep doing the same thing, you're not going to get different results? Is that right? Are you ready to do something different in November? So I called my team together and I said, we're not going to let them get away with stapling that affidavit on. We're going to make them bring that expert in and put them under oath where we can cross-examine them. And here's something else we're going to do that's different. We're going to bring our own experts in, so when the other guys are saying, well, this is all settled science, we can show that it's not. We'll bring in our own doctors and scientists to show that there's a lot of arguments still going on about this. And here's the other thing we're going to do different. The left always comes up with the greatest the saddest stories, a poster child. And you know what? I get it. There are sad stories surrounding this whole transgender thing. And maybe there's probably somebody here tonight who's got a kid or a grandkid that's struggling with their identity. And my heart goes out to you. That's tough. That is tough. But there's a lot of other tragic stories too. How about a story like this? A teenage girl goes through all this treatment because the doctor says it will help her, and her parents are desperate to do anything for their daughter. And she has parts of her body removed, and she goes through chemical and endocrine treatments that drop her voice and turn her into what looks like a man. And then she gets to be a grown-up, and her judgment is mature, and she says, I want to be a wife. I want to have children. And I can't because of what was done to me, because nobody protected me when I was a teenager. How about that for a sad story? Let's bring that in and make the church listen to that story too. Chloe Cole came in and testified under oath. The ACLU didn't lay a finger on her. And ladies and gentlemen, we did something different, and we got a different result. That is the law of the land right now. I'm going to keep fighting for Ohioans, people just like you. I'm going to keep fighting for America. My name is Dave Yost, and I work for the people. Thank you for having me here tonight.